haba hazun kabashin gunamak, haka sijan kwazun kabashin gunamak, haba nuntunga kwazika, ina saiza gunka, na inkana hinyen imujigwa, masha, ein nilagile hinyen zingakwan, gunana shigakuna na nalaki, mahinga amma tum hanye na sain tola chanchiwe siabuna ngune ya siabuna na lagede na jingwako nangna shodama na masha mujigwa numangshigatu ngwako na seki hanko.
With its translation in English, I leave the film Aluna here with you so that you can learn what we know about the need to protect the natural world, and you will realize that you must not damage it anymore.
I'm absolutely thrilled that Alex has come. He came up from Oxford this afternoon. He's going straight off to the Rio conference first thing tomorrow morning. But I thought it was a good idea for him to be here and for him to explain to you why, in his view, what the Kogi say is scientifically worth listening to.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks to everyone for staying behind to hear us, I guess. The Kogi really understand their environment in a way that is so profound we almost can't recognise it. It's understanding in absolute tiny detail the place within which they live. Every plant, every animal and so on, they recognise its place in the environment. That knowledge has been passed down from generation to generation. And it's very interesting statement during the film that in a way we know less than previous generations. There's an actual name for that phenomenon, which is called shifting baselines, which has been recognised in modern biology. And that is a situation where you look at an environment with your 10 or 20 years experience of it and you think that's normal. If you were in that same place 50 or 100 years ago, it would be profoundly different. Many more species, the species that are there are larger, and so on and so forth. When the Kogi talk about connectivity between habitats and ecosystems, that is a very real phenomena that we've come to recognise over the last 10, 20 years of ecology. Mangrove forests in particular are intimately connected with other coastal ecosystems such as coral reefs and seagrass beds. And if you damage one of those systems, you in fact lose the others, simply because of the knock-on effects of this connectivity. We now recognise this connectivity over huge scales. Who'd have thought that environmental oscillations in the Pacific could affect the recruitment of krill, tiny shrimps, in the Antarctic, but they do. And the world really is connected in a profound way that we're only just learning about and understanding. The Kogi idea of special places where certain species are found is something which we've only just recognised in modern ecology. This idea of source populations, places where a particular habitat is very special for a species, it has everything a species requires. That's the place where these species reproduce and feed all of the environment around them with that particular species. And in fact, it was this very phenomenon which partially led to the collapse of the famous Northwest Atlantic cod stock, when basically, because of overexploitation, that species retreated to a very small area, which was this core habitat or source area. And because the fishermen were still catching the same quantities of fish in that small area, they thought the population or the stock was absolutely fine. Of course it wasn't, and that stock collapsed more or less overnight. So the Kogi really do have an understanding of the natural world in a way that we should listen. Also, some of the things they're seeing are not simply a result of local activity. Of course, they're caught between sort of local development of the coast, but also larger phenomena such as climate change. So we should recognise the shifts and changes in the environment, changes in season and so on, as real warnings that things are out of kilter.
Just open it up to questions from you in the audience. Yeah, I think so, because we only have 7 minutes.
I'd like to try and understand a little more about how the Kogi mothers see Aluna. How they, do they see it as though it penetrates all nature? Like a field, like we would understand a quantum field of information? Is Aluna something similar to this? In that it's born in the quantum field and then arises from that?
Is Aluna everywhere? Is Aluna universal, or is it in a place?
Yeah. No.
Aluna izme nizgi bihan kwashi ijedona nukhne nukhawash inshallah khana waqla shisha an ayzamina laki nukne khalish qohan richek kan nukne no ekigwash.
Está comentando que Aluna está en todo el mundo, donde estamos en la Tierra, está universal. Aluna tenemos todo.
It's a universal field. It extends over everywhere and through the whole of the earth. Correct? Okay.
My question is for the Kogi, and just with everything that we've seen and everything that they're trying to tell us, can it be fixed? I mean,
Ekizig tqana en mashajin ki moko hanjizig borlak hangu.
Si para dejar bien, o sea, otra vez, para que el planeta quede bien, hay que dejar para no hacer dañar más, seguir haciendo más daño.
We think that yes, we can't really stop doing the damage. If we kind of stop now, it's possible to do something.
The Kogi have never been fatalists. And they've also said to me that if they didn't think there was any hope, they wouldn't have bothered with all the work that was involved in making this film.
I wonder what your views are about the increasing use of technology, particularly in the Western world, and whether you feel that affects people's ability to connect and therefore honour nature.
Nakuna toke. Hiya tonya toki tsaje gwagminga ki tonya nanu ni kalji meile yakilwa kwa hani kahamungo bukhana zigipana guwa hangu wash.
Él comenta de que la tecnología, que los hermanitos hacen eso, entonces eso es lo que hacen dañar y nos hacen cambiar otros conocimientos que no conocemos, porque en principio hay que nuestros padres nos han dejado a mantener y proteger nuestra naturaleza, al mundo que nos rodea.
He said that the little brother had forgotten the knowledge that they've been left by their ancestors, and technology sometimes have made the understanding not very clear to them.
So technology interferes with understanding rather than advances it, is that right?
Yeah.
My impression from the film is that there isn't a lot of time left, and that given that the world is so affected by multinational companies and the like in terms of pollution and the damage, my question to the mamas is, as an individual, what can I do? I feel powerless, and the implication I take from the film is that we don't have enough time, because there is a momentum that is in place around the planet that I feel as an individual, almost no matter what I do, to actually reverse or to have the kind of effect that is necessary that I take from the film is really necessary. So my question really is, and also to thank them as mamas for their message to me as a younger brother.
Dice que parece que no tenemos mucho tiempo, entonces ¿qué podría hacer una persona solamente como él? Y también agradece mucho el mensaje que ustedes le dan a él como hermanito menor.
Que los megaproyectos, las corporaciones tienen mucho poder. ¿Qué puede una persona hacer?
Aldin ki hay gwana gicha chibeki chibini mi gwana de cha ai toi ai shakala ai kigit machune ai amachet khane izumer mele sakyama hijitin ama ne gapan ne na cha sa chibini ga kwama ga nyimine ne sangwa ki toi ki akhmenga gwana nyimingu gogat
yes. I want to be hungry. I'm a mashing.
Dice que pues creo que hay que entender de estos mensajes que hemos dejado y para que siga reflexionando más.
Well, he suggested please to understand the message first and then to reflect upon.
What would Alex say?
Put me on the spot now. I mean, what I would say is that time certainly is running out. I mean, you may have seen in the news this week that we've reached the magic figure of 400 parts per million CO2 in the atmosphere, which was somewhere which certainly us as biologists never wanted to go. For ecosystems such as coral reefs, we're almost in a situation where they're irretrievably gone. And certainly if there isn't serious action taken within the next 10 years, maybe 20 years, we will see whole systems just disappear from the Earth. But having said that, in my own personal experience, one person can make a difference. And I think the first thing to do is to educate yourselves and educate other people about the consequences of the way we live, the consequences of the levels of individual consumption. I'll give you a very simple example. People go to tropical countries on holiday and they slap tons of suntan cream on. What they don't realise is that that stuff interferes with the reproductive systems of the very coral reefs that they're going to see. and actually turn them sterile. So it's things like that. It's just the complete thoughtlessness that we've slipped into, is this absence of thought, which is something which the Kogi talk about a lot, to think about the world, think about where you want to be. And we're not thinking about where we want to be in 10 or 20 or 30 years' time. We're almost forced or pushed into just thinking about the immediate present, and that's not what we should be doing.
Thank you.
We have time here for one last question, and we can ask more questions outside. So,
I just wanted to ask Mama what he thought of his little brother Alan, because sometimes he seemed quite slow on the uptake. I wanted to know whether you felt that your message had a good messenger, and what the frustrations of the process from your point of view is.
Quiero saber qué piensan ustedes del pequeño hermano, pequeño, Alan, que es el mensajero de este mensaje, sí que qué piensan de esto.
O sea, ¿qué piensa que nosotros qué pensamos de él?
Que se logró hacer lo que ustedes querían hacer.
Because I was so slow and didn't understand very much.
Porque era muy despacioso, no entendía mucho lo que hacía.
ساكنة الوقت هاي موسيقى يعلم عليه ممكن تجاوب إحنا ميجا نتقوي مكوي مك أما أجاهنا كنا شيء مك أجاهنجو نقوي شيشتو
أنا جن لكنك أقوى هيكي حبا في قباشن لشان حتى في قباشن لشان أقوى بتشقى هي أجاهنا كوكيني أما مما تنشط هيكي أما هي يا مقاين شوي أجاهنا تقوني أقوى.
Bueno, nuestro conocimiento era muy difícil, pero siempre hicimos lograr entender, porque tuvimos que mostrar los sitios y caminar y hacer de todo. Entonces así sucesivamente hizo aprender y lo hizo lograr estas películas.
He said it was very, very difficult because they had to walk a lot, they had to visit these other places, and he has to learn a lot, and he did it really well.
I really want to thank you for being an absolutely marvellous audience and for handling the Q&A so well. Thank you, because I'm so used to being in situations where instead of people asking questions, they start to tell people things. And I thought you did marvellously. Thank you so much. And as a reward, we have put money behind the bar. And so the drinks are on us. And if you want to carry on talking to the mama and to Alex, that's the place to do it now.